I think it was a few weeks before I got my debut, and it came out of the blue against, on the Friday. He says, "Oh, by the way," called me in his office. He said, "You're playing tomorrow," and I was like, "Whoa."
I mean, you saying how when you first saw those players in the change room, you always wanted to shrivel up. With that pressure, how long did it take you to settle into Arsenal?
Well, probably, I reckon that first training session was tough because I remember because it was snowing, we were in training at Highbury. Normally we'd be at the training ground at London Coney, which is, not far from Harpenden.
Yeah,
We would, we were indoors in the gym. And so if you go into a gym, it's even worse because you're playing trainer, as I used to call it, trainer football. You're in trainers, you're in whatever you want to call them, flat boots,
yeah,
astroturf, because we're on an artificial pitch. So it's quick. It's like bang, bang. The ball's like fizzing around. It's like really, really intense. A lot different than when you're outside on grass, but indoors, everything speeds up and it's very quick. So
yeah,
that first session, I thought, God, this is just so above my pay scale. I need to really rack up here. And I went home that night thinking, back to the hotel. I was staying in a hotel. I was like, God, I've got to shape up tomorrow.
yeah,
And then, as it happens, that was a Tuesday. We had a physical day. It was quite a hard running session. We were off on the Wednesday, so kind of regrouped, went in on the Thursday, and trained outside then. And I felt a lot better when I got outside. I felt as if I was not really. So a couple of days training, but I didn't play for a few weeks because I was cup tied. I played in the Little Woods Cup or whatever it was then, the League Cup for Stoke, so I couldn't play. And Arsenal were going for trying to get to the final, in which they did get to the final and famously lost against Luton in the final 3-2. So but I couldn't play. George wanted to keep his main team playing for the cup, so there wasn't a lot of opportunity to play in the league because he wanted to keep the team ticking over. So
yeah.
I think it was a few weeks before I got my debut, and it came out of the blue against, on the Friday. He says, "Oh, by the way," called me in his office. He said, "You're playing tomorrow," and I was like, "Whoa!" And back in those days, Arsenal, that's first season in 87, 88 season when I signed in the February,
Yeah.
they were mid-table, and there was 22,000 people turning up at Highbury, but they were on a cup run. And I made my debut, and I think against Luton at home, and it was 22,000. There was loads of spaces on the terrace, and half the North Bank was empty. It was a bit. It wasn't like football is today. It was kind of like, whoa, we're on a bit of and they got through to the final. They lost the final, and then the following season was my first full season.
Yeah.
Played 6 games, I think, in the first season, on and off. And then I started the next season, which famously ended up in Anfield in that famous 2-0 win to win the league, last kick of the game. So it
Yeah.
wasn't a bad start, really.
No, not the worst. Was there any player at Arsenal which really sort of maybe you had a closer bond with, took you under his wing, sort of way about to?
Yeah, I was quite close to Alan Smith because he'd signed the season before, and he'd stayed in the same hotel as I was staying in. He was living in St Albans, Chiswell Green.
Yeah.
So I was in the hotel in St Albans, the Noak Hotel. So I spent a lot of time with him after training. I'd go around and have dinner with him and his family. And we travelled into training together. So I became good mates with Alan, and still am, because we see each other on the commentary circuit a lot, because he works for Sky and I work for NBC in America. So we kind of bump into each other a lot.
Yeah.
But also I felt really close to David Rocastle, bless him, because he played him. I had to create a relationship with him because he was playing on the right side of midfield.
Yeah.
So me and him were partners, basically. So, and I knew Steve. Obviously, Steve Bold came in the summer after I signed. And I played with Steve for 2 years at Stoke. So I knew Bold pretty well as well. So,
Yeah.
but I think probably Alan Smith and David Rocastle were my 2 initial close friends, I think.